Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
The boss speaks again. I don't know what to say about that. Okay, it is. I wanted to say BS.show. Okay, what did I just do? Hold on a minute. I just screwed up again. That was us doing another show because of the fact that I didn't hit something. And now
Which people in the area can listen to now from 5 to 7 a.m. at 104.5 if you're in. And are you comfortable talking about how far our signal carries? Because I know we boosted it and we're not promoting it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what are you going to say about it? Because okay. we still have some issues with it.
Ostensibly in multiple counties, right? In pieces of multiple counties.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can hear it in St. Charles County. You can hear it in southern St. Charles County. You can hear it in southern Warren County. You can hear it in Franklin County. That's
all I've shared with people, Brad. I haven't shared any more than that.
Yeah. We're trying to we're trying to work on a new tower site, which is another whole crazy weird story. But we'll leave it at that for the time being. Hold on a minute. What is going on here? Hold on just a minute.
And in the interim, one of the things that I heard Egbert is considering is he is considering flipping 107.1 because of the wild backlash against Taylor Swift and her deleterious impact on Travis Kelce's football career. That Egbert is considering flipping Westplex 107.1 to just 24 hours a day of Brad and John.
Well, no, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Now, are you saying that Taylor Swift has hurt Travis Kelce's career?
Oh, absolutely. He's distracting her. His mind should be on X's and O's. It shouldn't be on some songstress.
He's still doing pretty well, though, isn't he? Doesn't he have some good stats in the playoffs so far? I mean,
we'll see how well the Chiefs do. Here's the thing that I'm not, Brad.
They're still going in the playoffs.
I'm not a bandwagon guy.
Okay.
And so many people, whether it's for the Kansas City Royals or whether it's for the Kansas City Chiefs, just love to jump on a bandwagon. And I feel it would be hypocritical of me as a guy who's never been a Chiefs fan to suddenly, even after the Rams leave, be like, well, I guess the Chiefs are going to be my team.
Well, there's a whole story behind that. And that's part of the reason why I've gotten very jaded about sports in general. And especially, you keep asking me about to delve into my comment
because
I made one morning.
Because listeners keep asking, Brad. I'm simply the conduit.
I could care less about the Cardinals. I really could.
You mean you could not care less?
If they left town tomorrow, it would be no big deal for me. I mean, to me, it would be like, okay, so let's figure out what to do with that stadium down there. Let's do the circus or something like that. I mean,
or we could put the homeless there.
Well, I don't live my. I got lots of things in my life to keep me busy and keep me occupied and keep me, challenged. And to sports have never, I mean, and the crazy part of it was at one point in time, what is now crap, our AM station, was a sports station.
Was it the Mouth?
No, it was called Sports Crap. That's
right.
We changed the call letters, and I mean, once again, we were one of the very first stations. As a matter of fact, we were one of the charter stations. We signed off with the CBS Sports Radio Network. That was we were one of these stations that on day one we were there running CBS Sports Network. Had Jim Rome and all these other guys on there. We had the Kansas City Chiefs, Mizzou Tigers, Cardinals baseball. We had local sports. We did high school football and basketball. And you know what? I could care less about all of it.
You couldn't care less. Because if you say that you could care less,
to me it was like
that means that you care a little. You get what I'm saying, Brad?
People go like, "Oh my God, it must be great to have your own sports station." I go, "Why's that?" Well, you're a sports guy. No, I don't really. Doesn't bother me. I mean, it could be Swahili, punk music as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
which you're known for.
Well,
and Bill Bidwell was big in the Swahili punk music.
Whatever. Okay, let's talk about the filibuster.
Yeah, let's talk about it. And let's talk more broadly about some of the factions in Jeff City.
Okay, the filibuster was because of what? And let's go into this. The filibuster was in the Senate. Was that yesterday or was it Wednesday?
It was yesterday, yeah.
Okay.
So there was quite a bit of debate yesterday, and you can't just look at one day. And remember, it's never just one thing when you look at this. I would recommend folks that really care about this and that have a few minutes, if you're driving around in the car, go to my website for yesterday, which was Thursday. excuse me, Thursday the 18th.
Yeah, 18th.
And take a look. Scott Fawn did an interview with a leader in the Senate named Cindy O'Loughlin. And she has been generally the biggest antagonist, I guess you could say, with Bill Eigel. So yesterday, on the interview, she called Bill Eigel a bully. And yesterday on the floor of the Senate, she called Bill Eigel a narcissist. Well, so we could get into the minutia of exactly what happened there. But so we'll do that for a second, and then we'll get into the broader fight. The Freedom Caucus, which contains most members of what in the previous two sessions had been, or the previous 2 years had been called the Senate Conservative Caucus, essentially made a motion and said, their point is we want to pass stuff right now at the beginning of session. So in other words, stop calling us obstructionists, stop calling us people that stand in the way. We want to pass stuff right now. Then on a rule battle, which is something called Committee of the Whole, which is a rarely used rule, there was a debate, essentially a procedural debate. And when that happened, things broke down immediately.
Well, but
members started inquiring of each other, which means that they were I'm sorry, was I talking over you?
No, but what I would say, isn't the big issue about the constitutional amendment deal? Isn't that what they're because
Yeah, yesterday it was about initiative petition.
Right, initiative petition.
Yeah, so initiative petition. So in other words, generally, and this is Scott Fawn's line that I'm going to steal, if you ask members of the Missouri legislature, everyone says that they're in favor of, quote, IP reform. In other words, how to make it different to change Missouri's constitution. But every member of the House and Senate has a different opinion on it. But what the battle was about yesterday, Brad, I mean, on paper, if you were to look at the Senate Journal, it would be about initiative petition. But it's about really who controls the Missouri Senate. So if you put Democrats to the side, because they are in a minority, you have a group of Republicans who call themselves the Freedom Caucus, and then there's some other kind of associated members that are considered, quote, hard right. And then you have what would traditionally be considered more mainstream or conservative Republicans. And it's about whose agenda is going to pass. Now, if you're Bill Eigel, you say, we want our conservative legislation. We want it now. We want to pass it. If you're Caleb Rowden or you're Cindy O'Loughlin, you say, Bill, by having it my way or the highway, you're blocking all kinds of other conservative legislation.
Yeah, but
so that's the nature of the debate.
But what it comes down to me is this is what I don't understand. Okay, what I don't understand is if you look at the way our Constitution for the state of Missouri is as opposed to our federal Constitution. In the federal Constitution, we have amendments, and I had my little pocket Constitution book here, and I can't remember what I did with it. I moved it somewhere. But the whole book, it's a small little book. It's maybe, 10, 15, 20 pages. It's not that, it's small print, the whole bit, okay? The one stupid bill with the marijuana is like 60 pages or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know how many words.
And
pages,
that has taken our Missouri Constitution and adds 60 pages to the stupid Constitution, okay? And the problem is that we already saw this, this happen, not even a year after the marijuana thing was approved because of the fact there's the ambiguous, what do you call it, wording of this thing where St. Charles County and St. Louis County are involved in a court battle with a pot store up in North County because of the fact that they claim that the county shouldn't get any money unless a marijuana whatever you call it sales point is in unincorporated St. Louis County or St. Charles County, but if it's in a municipality, then the county can't. I'm going like, okay.
Can you stack your taxes? That's
right.
What it's just
like
the county wants money, the municipality wants money, and nobody knows what's right and what's wrong.
And once again, it was written poorly, but because it's a constitutional amendment, they can't fix it. So inherently, I would think that every single legislator on the state level, both in the Senate and the House would say, yes, we have to change this. But what's going to happen already? I'm hearing people talk about the fact that there's already the storm clouds are brewing because, or whatever you want to call it, the storm clouds are gathering because. And storm clouds, I mean, if you're a pro-life person, the storm clouds are the fact that they're going to jam an right to abortion constitutional amendment into the state constitution. And you would think that if we have the supermajority in the House and the supermajority in the Senate, which we still do in both houses, correct? Supermajority.
Correct. That's correct. Yep.
You would think that both of them, they're going to like, okay, we're Republicans. We don't like abortion. We are going to, as Barney Fife would say, nip that in the bud. And we're not going to allow to have a constitutional amendment because we're going to change the constitutional amendment process to the state of Missouri. But yet, that never gets done.
Right. And so as an example, one of the things that Cindy O'Loughlin said in her interview with Scott Fawn was that when you have filibustering and when you have what she would call obstructionism, you stand in the way of progress on things like initiative petitions. So that would be echoing what you're saying.
Right. And
so again, Brad, what you have here, it's a clash of personalities. It's a clash of, again, this is an election year. And some folks stood up at the beginning of session and said that they were optimistic about what could happen this session. And I don't know how anyone could look at the 2024 session with a straight face and say we're going to get a lot done.
I agree with you, and it's to the point where it seems like they push these things along, and then there's this mad rush the last week.
You're right. At the last minute.
And it's like, okay, what? And to me, it's like, the crazy thing for me is that, the best time of the year as far as legislation is concerned in the state of Missouri is when the Senate and the House are not in session because no stupid new laws. You know what I mean?
That's the old joke. It's the only time that residents of Missouri are safe is when the legislature is out of session.
Okay.
Now, Democrats would say, no, because we need to change the laws and whatever, right? But if you're a libertarian or a conservative, you say you're probably safe if the legislature's not there.
Well, okay, immunity. Let's talk about this for a minute. This is a big story, a national story, because Trump, and I have to tell you, not that I'm going to say, Donald Trump, he's right again. Donald Trump is bringing up some very interesting points about this. And essentially what his pitch is, that he's essentially saying he can't be sued or can't be taken to court in Atlanta, or because they're suing him, or he's being indicted because of the fact that he did this at the election, stuff like that. And he gave some very interesting, opinions on this yesterday, essentially saying that if you don't give the president immunity, and he gave the example that Obama, when Obama was office, remember this, Obama was always sending in.
Yeah, and this is Will Sharf's example, too.
Right.
Go ahead.
He was always sending in drone attack,
Yep.
And we're gonna blow these guys up with a drone attack, and they documented that over the course of the Obama administration, there were X amount of civilians who were killed in these drone attacks, okay? So the idea being that once Obama is out of office, that people could indict Obama for murder.
Yeah, for war crimes.
Well, for war crimes, exactly.
Yeah.
And the idea being,
I'm laughing because it's preposterous.
But it's not. because of the way that they're going after Trump, I see what he's saying. He's essentially saying it's the same thing. And he's essentially saying if you don't give the president immunity, then this is going to happen forever and ever and ever. That when the Republicans get into let's say in the 2024 election in November, that the Republicans take over the House, the Senate, and Trump gets elected as president, okay? Then he can go in and he can say, okay, we're going to indict Joe Biden because of the fact that because he withdrew all troops from Afghanistan.
And how many deaths that created.
And look at these poor 13, service people who were killed. One of them right from the St. Charles County area, the Schmitz family, impacted by that. And I'm going like, okay, I get it. And once again, it's to the point where you have to essentially say, okay, fine. And see, this is what I think would worry me if I were a Democrat, because if you're doing all this crazy stuff, and to the point where we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where both Bill Eigel and your buddy Jay Ashcroft essentially tried to get Biden taken off the ballot in the state of Missouri. And it's the point where, like,
and by that logic, it's the idea of be careful of what you wish for.
Right, and
as you would say, unintended consequences.
Well, the problem with this is, what the big problem with this is?
What is it?
Too many attorneys.
Oh yeah.
And this is what happens when you get the law, and to the point where you hear some of these cases, and sometimes you say what, and like for example, I can give you one that happened to me, and anybody in business has been a business for a while would know this story. Years ago, I had a company that did business with me, and they spent like $20,000 with me, okay? And they got way behind in their payments. They were supposed to pay a net 30, and 60 days after, and I kept running them. They were running advertising with my company, and I let them go, and finally I got one check out of them for $5,000, and then 2 months later, they went bankrupt, and they owed me another $15,000, okay? So I lost $15,000 on the deal, but I had $5,000. One day in the mail, I get a letter from an attorney in Oklahoma City, because this company was headquartered in Oklahoma City. I get a letter from the attorney in Oklahoma City saying, he wants my $5,000 that this company paid me. And I went,
because somebody else was in line for it before you? Is that the rationale?
It's called preferential payment.
And you weren't, you didn't have preference.
No. The way it works is if you're a company that goes bankrupt, and I think this is pretty much, this is not state law, this is federal law. Let's say I owe you money, and what it's designed to prevent is, like, let's say my company's not doing well, and I'm going to go bankrupt, and I say to you, hey, John, I owe $1 million, and I owe you a couple $100,000. I'm going to pay you, but screw those other people. I'm not paying them, okay? So essentially what it does is it creates a 90-day window. It's a look-back window. So in other words, let's say you declare bankruptcy on April 1st. Any payments you've made from January 1st through March 30th can be recalled. So in other words,
I see what you're saying. So interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, neither did I until one day when this happened to me.
So what was the result? What happened?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
I called my attorney, and my attorney laughed at me. Oh, you don't know about preferential payment. I go, so I said to him, so this is the truth? And he goes, yeah, it's the truth. He says, you're going to have to pay the $5,000 back. I said, the company owes me another $15,000. He says, tough noogies, you're going to have to pay the $5,000 back. You've lost $20,000 in that deal. So What did I do? I jumped on a plane one day, unannounced, and I showed up in the attorney's office in Oklahoma City. And once again, no appointment. Showed up at his office. Secretary asked me who I was. I told him. She said, well, you don't have an appointment. I go, no. I flew into town to talk to him. And she goes, well, he won't see you. And I said, well, I'm sitting here all day because guess what? I got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And when he's got time, matter of fact, if you want, tell him when he wants to have lunch, I'll buy lunch and we'll sit and talk about this at lunch. 5 minutes later, I'm in his office. So we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Well, he ended up, he says, well, I've got a little bit of leeway. I'm only going to make you pay $3,000 of it back. So, I ended up having to write a check for $3,000. So I lost.
But I mean, minus plane fare and time, you saved $2,000 by making that appointment.
Yeah, but once again, I lost $18,000.
Yeah.
But that's the way the bankruptcy code is.
So would you be comfortable talking about what you learned from that? Was there anything that people listen to this can take away from that?
It's a crazy, stupid law. I mean, here, there's one.
But I mean, in terms of managing your advertisers, or if people get X% behind, you cut them off.
No,
Or doesn't matter.
because there's a perfect example. If you want, I'll read this story next break. We'll talk about the Odyssey bankruptcy. And there was a story yesterday in our Inside Radio publication. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what universe is this correct in? I mean, and I won't go any further than that. I will just state my case, and you, John Combest, will be the judge, and you'll say, that's the wackiest thing I ever heard of. Or you'll say, well, that makes perfect sense. You'll go one of two ways.
Let's talk about it the next break.
Okay, we're going to take a break. I hope everything's going to work right. We're going to make sure this is doing this, this is doing this, this is doing this. Hopefully it should work. It's 7:42.